I want to take you to court in just a fascinating court case that is underway. And that is in Ontario court, where they are expected to hear the case today of 11 people who won the chance to apply for a cannabis retail license, only to be disqualified shortly afterwards. The applicants are requesting a judicial review of their rejection, as well as the procedures involved in the lottery that has been used to grant all of Ontario's pot shop licenses. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario said in August the group had missed a deadline in the application process. But the group says it's not the case. Now, earlier this month, the Toronto judge basically paused the entire process, just froze the whole thing. So now we're in a situation where there just isn't anything happening as we wait for this court case to play out. There is also opposition from lawyers representing a new slate of applicants selected to replace the 11 that were eliminated. So essentially, these people the applicants didn't have their stuff in place. And then all of these sort of wait listers said, well, okay, now you get it. And now they're upset too. Everybody's upset. Karim Assad is a lawyer who has been covering this case and had a fascinating, really deep dive on Twitter thread yesterday that I recommend you take a look at. She joins me on the line. Hi, Karima. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm good. So you're actually at court? It's quite full down there?
It's packed. I was actually sitting on the floor initially. There was standing room only, and my heels did not permit. So
there's going to be a lot of people who say, listen, I'm not interested in cannabis. Why should I care about this story? Tell me why, in terms of the rollout about this and how it's been handled by the government, is there reason for concern?
So the AGCO was tasked with a fair process to distribute licenses. And, taxpayers in Ontario, this is what we're paying for, effectively. And now where we have a situation that there's dispute about who did what correctly or not, we're here in divisional court, again, funded by taxpayer dollars. So I think it's really relevant whether or not you have an interest in cannabis, just keeping the government accountable to what it's meant to do and acting in a fair and transparent way.
From your assessment, how has this lottery system been working, and is it fair and equitable in terms of who is getting what appear to be extremely lucrative licenses?
Well, I'm glad you used both the words fair and equitable, because theoretically, a lottery process is fair. You submit your application, you have a chance of being drawn from the hat, so to speak. But is it equitable? I would say no, a hearty no, because there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, in order to participate in the lottery, you need significant access to capital. And that's not problematic, perhaps in and of itself, since the government does have an interest in ensuring that stores will actually be able to function and operate, but it does preclude a certain group of people. And even leading up to the second lottery, some of the requirements, such as proving that you have access to liquid funds, banks were no longer issuing those letters. So people who otherwise could have applied weren't able to, simply because what was needed didn't exist. More generally, when we think about cannabis, I think part of the conversation that isn't really getting enough airtime is that we are emerging from nearly a century of prohibition. And there are people who have helped bring about this legalization who have no prospect of winning the lottery. And the last thing I'll say is that although the rules do have certain restrictions for who can apply and how often, in practice, it appears that some people submitted multiple applications under different names. So they really gamed the system and stacked the deck in their favor.
Karim Assad is a lawyer specializing in the cannabis industry, and she is at Ontario court today listening in to these proceedings as the rollout of the Ontario cannabis storefronts is completely frozen at this time. Karima, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Isn't that interesting, that the chaos in all of this? Remember that under the previous administration, we were going to have a public system We were going to have stores that were operated by the Ontario government, that they were going to be staffed by union members. And then when the Ford government came in, they said, nope, a private system is much better, is cheaper and more desirable. And I'm not arguing in favor of one over the other, but you will see that certainly in terms of being able to give out these private licenses, it has not been a smooth rollout in any way, shape, or form at all.